Married couples in the U.S. have about an 80% chance of divorcing within the first 4 to 5 years of marriage.
Don't make it sound so bad. You can get through. It'll be fine.
80%?
80% is not great.
She said that recently my husband and I met with a group of young people from our church to discuss dating relationships. Of the 12 young people present, only 2 were from 2-parent families.
How much planning have you done for your marriage?
How soon should my boyfriend and I start couples counseling? Should we wait until we're engaged?
I think that's a really good question, and I think I wouldn't put some sort of legalistic term on it that you have to be engaged in order to start some sort of counseling or discussing what the future may look like. I think it could be very appropriate to ask some of those questions before you get engaged. Is this a person that I really want to commit to? What should our life look like? Do I really know who this person is? Am I being blinded by my affection for this person? Am I prepared to love them despite some of the flaws that I see in them? I think those are all good questions that you can ask. So I wouldn't put a stamp on it to say, you can't do this before you get engaged. I do think it's necessary and critical after engagement. You definitely need to be thinking about these issues.
It would be like premarital counseling.
Mm-hmm.
The premarital counseling tends to be like communication, understanding family of origin, so that it is a little bit more harmonious with an understanding of what this is. But I think that premarital counseling could be some of the bigger categories of what are your priorities in life?
Mm-hmm.
Rather than getting into the nuts and bolts of marriage, are we on the same page on the big stuff? Because if we aren't, it's probably not a good idea, or we need to get on the same page.
Yep.
Speaking of which, when it comes to theology, how in alignment should a couple be theologically before saying, yes, this is going to work?
Yeah, I think on what we would call the non-negotiables, I think that's paramount. You have to be on the same page. I think there's freedom in some of the other thoughts relative to theological preferences. I think where we have to be careful is you need to think about this in terms of how are we going to raise our children?
Right.
How are we going to think about, guiding our child in a particular direction? What type of church are we going to attend? Who are we going to align with there? And so I think in that, making a decision beforehand is important on as a couple, what you can negotiate and what's non-negotiable. So I think there's some freedom there outside of the first tier issues, but
practical issues.
Yeah, so practical issues like
baptism.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think those kinds of things are critical to the nature of the church and how you practice at the church, and those are probably things that you want to have some level of agreement on.
Yeah. So a Presbyterian and a Baptist walk into the biblical counselor's office. The biblical counselor says, we should probably unpack what this is going to look like.
Yeah, and you're not making a decision for them, but what you're trying to help them to do is to have a foreshadowing of these are conversations that are going to be really important that you can't see right now when you're getting married, but when children come into the picture, it's going to be really important discussion that you guys flesh out and think through on this side before you guys say I do.
Mm-hmm. A young couple, if they can understand the necessity of working through so many issues, a family of origin, I always think of Wayne Mack's book. It's actually in his book on in-laws, where you go through your family of origin, your potential spouse goes through family of origin. And how that's going to play out in your life is staggering. Yeah. And for younger people to receive the wisdom of guys like Wayne Mack, it just from a pragmatic standpoint, it's going to save you a lot of pain.
You can have such petty conflict in a marriage. To think about the folding of the laundry, the way the towel should go, where should they be put?
Don't move off of the laundry yet.
Yeah.
I actually did that. I still am a jerk, but I was such a jerk. My wife clearly didn't know how to fold towels rightly. Okay, so I would grab one of the bath towels and do a big drama with it, folding it over so it's like one fold, two fold, and then you fold it again. And then, here's the important part. The outside shouldn't be the layered part, it should be the rounded part, so when you grab it with your hand, it's like you're in a hotel. That's how you fold laundry right there. And I thought, why am I so uptight about this? And I realized it's because, this was the way my mother folded the laundry and my wife doesn't. And I brought that into the marriage. So not only did I realize in that instance that I was a jerk, but apparently I've got mommy issues that probably should be worked through, apparently, because I was insisting my wife fold the laundry like my mother. Now, you've run into that, haven't you?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Okay, what other dopey discrepancies have you had to kind of referee?
Oh, I've heard things, how you put dishes into the dishwasher.
Very important.
Which way does the toilet paper go?
We all know, over the top.
Over the top or under, right?
No.
Where do we spend holidays? I think that's probably one of the biggest...
the holidays.
Yeah, the holiday issue is where do we spend the holidays? How do we split time appropriately? How do we
That's a biggie.
think through that? Yeah, we made our expectations or preferences from our growing up years into moral categories of right and wrong. We do it right. She apparently does it wrong.
Right.
And we fight for it as if it is a moral right and wrong, when in reality, it is a preferential issue. And we have to learn what are those issues that are wisdom issues, and how are we as a couple going to address those things.
My sister-in-law, not very bright, named all of her kids Bible names, so there I am playing with my nephew, The Message. I'm kidding, that's not really a Bible. And that is why Samson was the best comedian in the Bible. He brought the house down. He brews his own coffee. he brews